Okay, friends, we're going to go ahead and get started now. Welcome to the January Agency Admin webinar. I'm here, my name is Thaddeus Gassy, here on the HMIS team with Crisis Response Network, and with me are Samuel Devis.
Hello.
And also Stephanie Grader.
Hello.
On today's agenda, we are going to be going over what we are asking agencies to do for the upcoming point-in-time count, that's the PIT, and the housing inventory count, that is the HIC. So we'll start with an overview, and we'll move on to the expected schedule, and we'll cover the details and answer questions for each step along the way. So normal webinar reminders, please remember to share what you've learned with any relevant staff at your agency. During this webinar, to ask questions, use the Q&A function. Your common questions are answered live. The answers are going to be aggregated and shared at a later date, and longer questions can be emailed to the help desk. Keep in mind that your agency's attendance is required, but we always make a recording available later. We will email the video links by the following Monday. For today's webinar, this means Monday, January 27th. Any users not in attendance will have until Friday, January 31st. We aim to get this recording out as soon as possible, though, because this is very timely for both Balance of State and Maricopa. For the upcoming PIT count and HIC, we are asking agencies to do a number of things. This is for both Balance of State and Maricopa. On the screen, you're going to see that this is for 7 different program types: permanent housing, permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, other permanent housing, emergency shelter, transitional housing, and safe haven. If your agency has one or more of these types, we're going to be asking your agency to verify information about those projects, verify the bed and unit inventory for those projects, and verify the clients served on the night of the point in time. This is new. These are new steps. Last year, we had a Google document, a Google sheet that we had people log into and enter their information for, and we're trying to find something more streamlined to get this done faster and better. So let's go over the timeline for the next few weeks. On January 22nd, we'll reach out to every primary contact, sending a list of projects they must verify. Your agency may opt to begin early by running reports to do preliminary verification. Between January 22 to 28, our team will begin proactively contacting some agencies to help in data quality cleanup before the point-in-time count. We also plan to point out any clients who are double enrolled by your agency. Next, between January 28 and February 7, we're asking every agency to verify their data using the correct report for each project, and we'll be going over the reports in just a minute. After verifying the data you see in the reports, you'll need to produce a final report that shows the correct information and send it to the HMIS team. The deadline to submit your verified report to us is February 7. Finally, the last stage in the schedule is the date span from February 8 to 14th. During those dates, the HMIS team will work with select projects on any additional follow-up. That's our schedule, but you definitely may be asking questions like, okay, what report are we talking about then? So let's go over the details then. Sam, if you could read me the questions, I'll go over the answers for each one.
Oh, so first of all, who receives my agency's list of projects?
So we will send that list to your agency's primary point of contact. Every single agency has a single point of contact that we use for major questions about programmatic changes and shifts. They're the one who receives this list.
Okay. And then what reports need to be run?
You're going to be selecting from the following 2 reports. For all permanent housing, PSH, RRH, and OPH projects on your list, please use the 0628 HIC supplement report. And for all the emergency shelter, transitional housing, and safe haven projects on your list, please use the 0630 sheltered unsheltered point-in-time report.
Right. And then when should I run these reports?
These reports should be run the night of the point in time, though you can start verifying as early as January 22nd if you want to.
And then what else should I know about these reports?
So both of these reports have multiple tabs, and these are the ones to pay attention to. Provider information, which contains details about the project. Bed information, which contains details about the bed capacity. and client count, which is the number of people enrolled on the night of the point in time. And don't forget, again, that it takes ART, the advanced reporting tool, 1 day to show your changes after editing.
Right. And what do agencies do if the client counts are incorrect in the report?
If the client count is incorrect according to your internal numbers, then your agency should make those corrections in HMIS. And if you need assistance for that, you can submit tickets to the help desk, and we will be glad to help you.
How do agencies know they're done verifying?
When the reports show accurate information for every project, then you know that you're done.
And then what should agencies do when the reports are accurate?
Once the reports are accurate, you can send them directly to our team by sending a direct email to our normal help desk email, which is hmis-support@crisisnetwork.org, and then we will do a final validation after that.
And what is the submission deadline?
That date is February 7th. That's when we need to have your cleaned up reports emailed to us by.
And what will happen after the submission date?
Starting on February 8th, our team will be following up with agencies as needed if there's anything else that we're seeing after our post-verification. Okay, so that was all of our major FAQs. I also want to spend a little bit of time to look at some of your questions to us. Question, can you show the slide with the names of the reports again? Let me go ahead and go back there for you. Here, 0628 and 0630. So we can run reports starting on the 29th. You could start running reports on the 29th, that is correct, as long as we have everything that needs to be corrected and returned to us by February 7th. All right, I'm not seeing any other live questions right now, so I'm going to go ahead and get things handed over to Sam so he can show you what it looks like to run these reports. So bear with us for just a moment.
Welcome to this training on the 0630 and the 0628 reports, which will be used to verify client counts on the night of the PIT. As a reminder, the night of the PIT for Maricopa is January 27th, 2020, and the night of PIT for Balance of State is January 21st, 2020. So there are two reports we're going to look at when verifying client information. These reports you'll find under ART, you'll find them under Public Folder, and under the Data Quality Reports. Now, there are two reports, and the formats are very different, but the formats are the same within the report, but the prompts are slightly different. So, the first report we have is the 0628, the HIC supplement. This is to be used by projects, permanent housing projects such as permanent supportive housing, rapid housing, and other permanent housing projects. We recommend that you schedule support because it can take a couple minutes for this to run, and scheduling allows you to run it for a few projects back to back. So the first thing is we'll select a provider. Now you can only select only one provider per report. So if your agency has, for example, 10 providers they need to verify data for, you'll have to run this report 10 times for each individual provider. So we'll simply select. Let's do it. And we'll search for our first provider here. Perfect. And we'll be good to go. Now the PIT date is PIT date +1. So this will be different depending on your continuum. For Maricopa users, this will be 1/28/2020, which should be pre-populated within ART for you. And the effective date for Maricopa will be, again, 1/28/2020 for Maricopa users, which will be pre-populated. Now, for Balance of State users, since their PIT date is different, their dates will be 1/22/2020 and 1/22/2020. In the Balance of State site as well, the correct date, will be pre-populated in the report. And then you'll go ahead and once those dates are filled out, it'll click Next. We do recommend running this as a PDF. The PDF version does have all the relevant instructions. In addition, the final version of the report you submit to the HMIS team does have to be in a PDF format. Now, of course, you can run it as a PDF and an Excel file. That way you can filter one file and read the instructions in the PDF. But this report is designed with a PDF in mind because that will be the final format coming to the HMIS team. Now, the second report is 0630. I'll pull it up. That's as it says for emergency shelters, safe havens, and transitional housing projects. once again, schedule the report. This one's a little faster, but we still recommending scheduling it, especially if your agency has a number of projects to verify client data for. Again, we'll have that pit date plus 1. So in Maricopa, again, the Maricopa pit date, we're verifying client counts as of 1/27/2020. So this prompt is 1/28/2020, pit date plus 1, as well as the effective date as 1/28/2020. And the pit date for Maricopa will be 1/27/2020. Now, for Maricopa users, these prompts will already be filled out with the correct dates. And just like the previous one, we'll go ahead and select our provider. And once again, you can only select one provider at a time. So if your agency does have multiple projects to verify, you'll have to run this report for each individual project that is an emergency shelter, transitional housing, or a safe haven project. And we'll just go ahead and run that. And then we'll select next. Oh, as a note, in the previous screen, balance of state users, they'll be selecting the different dates of 1/22/2020 for the pit date plus 1. In balance of state, the prompts will already be filled out with the correct dates, so there really should be no reason whatsoever to change any of the dates. All you really will need to do is change the provider as you're working through your list of agencies you need to verify. Again, this one is designed to be run as a PDF, and we'll go ahead and send that. And we'll go and see these reports populate at the bottom here. And we see them both running. So instead of waiting for some dead time and waiting for a report to run silently for 5 minutes, we actually have a couple of reports already pre-run and pre-populated, so we can go jump right into the reports. Now from here, the 628 and the 0630, the formats are the same in both reports. You're simply just verifying different types of projects between the two. So let's look at the report and see what we have.
So the first page will just have your instructions. And this gives the entire rundown of what you want to do. I'll actually walk through this report step by step so that when you're going ahead and reading this report and reviewing it, you know exactly what to expect or what we expect on the HMIS team. So we're just going to go basically, these instructions say to go through each tab and verify the information is correct. So we'll go to the next page. So the first one is we're just going to verify that the count of clients is correct. Now this is the 628 for permanent housing projects. In this case, you're verifying that this number of clients is the number of clients housed. So this one says that of households with a child and an adult, there are 33 households, totaling 138 individual people in this project. This also says that for singles or households without children, which could include couples, this project has 79 households for a total of 94 clients. In this case, they have no households, which are just only children under 18 years of age, which says that they are currently housing 232 clients in their project on the night of the pit. Again, which is January 27th, 2020. Now, if this information is correct, as it says, we'll go to the next section, verify bed inventory. Now, if this is not correct, you can go to the next page, and you'll see a list of clients who are entered as housed with your project. This will list every single client who is enrolled in your project on the night of the pit, and you can look at the move-in date to review clients who are not counted as housed. So if I scroll through this report here, you'll notice that a client with the date in red is a client considered to be not housed by your project. Clients with a red here will not be counted in the total tally. The common reasons for this is the client does not have a legitimate move-in date. It means they have not been housed since they entered the project, or in some cases a data entry error. There may be no head of household. Those are some things to look for. If you have particular questions, you can always contact the help desk and submit a ticket requesting assistance. In any case, this client list will allow you to verify the clients who are enrolled, and if you do determine that this number here in this first page is not correct, you'll want to review the client audit, the client list, and go back into HMIS and correct the data in HMIS. This data must be corrected in HMIS. We're not going to modify the PDF and then submit to the HMIS help desk. Please remember that this report is run in ART, so any corrections that you make in Service Point will not reflect until the next day. So, for example, if it's 1/28/2020 or January 28th, and I make some corrections, I'll have to wait until the next day on the 29th to run the report. Now, I want to keep on doing this, correcting data, running the report, correcting the data, running the report, until I see that this client count is exactly what I think it should be. Once that's complete, you'll go past that, you'll go past all this client information, and then we'll get to the next section. We're going to ask you to verify your bed and unit inventory. And as it says at the top, it says, are the listed bed and unit inventories correct? Now, you may have more than one type of bed in your project. So this project, for example, has beds for households with adults and children, and it also has beds for households without children. You're going to verify each one of these columns. Some projects will have beds that are dedicated to only youth under 18 as well. So first, you're going to verify the total number of beds, and we have some fun, nifty definitions next to it. But in a quick summation, this is how many people individually can be served by your project on a given night. The total number of units, this is the total number of units a project has for occupancy. You can kind of consider this to be a family, so you could have one family as one unit, but you may have four members in that family, so it'd be 4 beds. So the unit is basically how many families or rooms your project may have. Now, if your project serves only singles, your units and your beds will be the exact same number. Once we verify that, we have a few other specific bed types that we'll want to verify, specifically dedicated beds. So some projects may have beds that are dedicated for chronically homeless, veterans, and youth. Your project may not have these dedicated beds, and that is perfectly fine. We just want to verify that we have the correct information. Most of this is coming from last year, the last year's PIT, or updates we've gathered throughout the past calendar year. So first, the number of beds dedicated to chronically homeless individuals. This is the number of beds that are basically set aside for individuals who are chronically homeless. We have a number of beds dedicated for veterans, number of beds, as it says, dedicated specifically for veterans, and beds dedicated for youth, up to the age of 24 in this case. That definition is slightly different than it has been in the past. But we're going to say how many beds are set aside specifically for youth. This is going to be most applicable to RIE projects. Now, I know it can get kind of difficult for rapid rehousing, voucher, and scatter site projects, so we do have some instructions in the bottom. They're not hard and fast necessarily, but these are some general guidance. If you are a voucher project and you're given by a grant, you have 100 vouchers, absolutely. Call that number of vouchers 100 your units. If your project does not have a fixed number of vouchers, you can estimate the units based on how many families your project can serve on a given night. And in some cases, your units will be determined based on how many families you're actually housing on that night as well. For those projects who have some trouble navigating what exactly it means to be a unit or a bed in a rapid housing voucher or scatter site project, please feel free to contact the help desk, send us a ticket, and we can definitely walk you through that or kind of discuss your individual situation. Now, there's an important note here, is that if this information is not correct, we are not modifying this document. You're going to have to make a note that some changes need to be updated in HMIS. It is the HMIS team's responsibility to keep this data accurate, so you're just going to make a note saying that this information is correct. The way I do that, I just pull up a different document. I'm pulling up a Word, you can pull up Excel, Notepad, whatever suits your fancy, but you can just put basically a note that says bed updates, and you can say something like, for households with adults and children. So always super annoying to watch people type and read out loud at the same time. For households with adults and children, you could say that the total beds is actually 140, and you can say that your chronic beds is actually 40. And that way we can just go ahead and refer to that, and we'll see that, okay, we need to update HMIS to say there's 140 total beds and 40 chronic beds. However you want to do that, you can do that in the body of an email or a Word document, whatever works for you. Once you do go ahead and verify all that information and kind of make a note of where we might need to make updates, you go on to the next section, which is verifying information about your project itself. Most of this should be up to date. and it's pretty straightforward information we're looking for as well. So we're going to update the address, and you'll have different details and instructions based on the type of project. For scattered site projects, you do not require an address, a physical address. You can just use the main organization address. We'll verify, city, organization, zip. The only one that some projects might want to consider is that there is a most common client zip code. This is specific for scattered site projects. Basically, this is a zip code where the majority of your clients, or most of your clients, the best would be the most common zip code clients are housed in. So this is not necessarily the same address as your organization or the same zip code. This is a zip code where, most of your clients, or the most common zip code your clients are housed in. There's operating start date. This is the date that the project first provided services. Some of these dates may be a little more off than you expect. I would just make a note in this and let us know. The program type, for everyone who's using the 628, it should be the PSH, RH, or OPH. And for the 0630, it should be Emergency Shelter, Transitional Housing, or Safe Haven. If your program type is not correct, you definitely need to let us know, because that is definitely going to impact reporting. And then we carry on to the next page. Some additional information: your housing type, your target population, your federal funder type, if it's applicable, and we have a most recent grant start date. If it's in red, that means we don't have the most recent grant start date. This one is 6/1/18. Most likely this grant renewed on 6/1/2019, but if you can verify that, that really helps us understand exactly where in the calendar year different projects are operating, how we can kind of best assist in terms of reporting expectations, especially for those quarterly reports. And then the final one is a project dedicated to serving homeless persons. Almost every project who is verifying information should be doing this, but we do have one-offs where we do miss the details. Now again, just like the bedding unit inventory, if there is something that needs to be changed, we want to go and make a note on a separate document. So let's say that the address, there is a line 2, we want to update that. So I'll go back to my Word document here, and I'll say provider updates, again, reading out loud, and I'll say address line 2 is now suite 250, and let's say that we also want to update the most common zip code, again only for scattered site projects, and we'll just say 85013, and you're all set there. So I'll actually go ahead and we'll do that in a moment. All right. And then that reaches the end of the document. Now, there's only one final page, which is really more of an appendix than anything else. This just is a reference of all the different federal funders that your project may be involved with. If you want to look at this, it can be helpful for reference, but there's absolutely no reason to look at this in any depth unless you have a specific question about the federal funder streams. Now, before I show you how to email this information finally to the HMIS team, this report can also be run as an Excel document. The disadvantage of that, so there's pros and cons, as is with everything. The pro is that if you're verifying client information, sortable, lovely, awesome, does what Excel does. The con is that there's no instruction at the top for each tab here. In addition, if you do run this as an Excel report, that is fine. If that's easier for you to navigate the information and verify client counts, that's perfect. But ultimately, the final document that you do send the HMIS team with the correct client counts does have to be a PDF. If it's not a PDF, we will return it to you and ask you to resubmit the email to us with a PDF. So that's the basic workflow. You'll do that for every project that is in your agency which needs to verify information. As I said, this is the exact same format for the 0628 and the 0630. I'm going to walk through exactly what we're looking for when we are submitting this to the HMIS help desk. Okay, so I pulled up an email, and this just shows exactly what we're expecting when we do finalize all the project information. The first thing I've done, I've attached a PDF report. and I'll just pull that open. And you can see the exact same report that we just reviewed, and all it does, it just makes sure that we have the correct client information. Now, as I said, there was some situations where you may have information that needs to be corrected, so we'll just pull up that handy dandy information, and you can just note that in the body of the email. So and it's as simple as that. So we don't have to use the exact same wording or anything of that sort. Just attach the final PDF, and if there are any corrections that need to be made, we just want you to note that, what those are in the body of the email. Or if you want to save it as a Word document and attach that as well, that's perfect. You'll send this to the HMIS-support. Make sure you can see that email address. It's also on our website, hmisaz.org. Send that there and just say project verification, whatever have you. We're not real specific on what the subject has to be. Then you'll send that off and you'll be done with that project. And you're going to run that same process for your project that you have. That concludes the training for the reports for the 0630 and the 0628. If you have any questions, please reach out to the HMIS Help Desk. We're here to answer questions and help any way we can. That could be about the instructions, about the report, or anything specific like how to count bed units, or if you're having trouble validating where your client count is coming from. All right, I appreciate your time. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and happy reporting.